Hi. Today we're going to talk about the age of the Earth. It's pretty standard fare for me to start my videos with a question. So, my question to you is, how old do you think this planet is? Some scientists say that the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. I believe it's about 6,000 years old, like the Bible says. Who's right? I'm going to show you. You might find yourself asking, where in the Bible does it say the Earth is 6,000 years old? Well, it doesn't say it just like that, because if it did, the Bible would be outdated in 1 year.
Of course. How clever.
So, what we have to do is this. We have to flip back to the genealogy of Jesus Christ found in the Gospel of Matthew. And what it says there is, from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, all the way to Jesus, it lists every single son.
You mean... Precisely, Robin.
So, all we have to do is this. Find from the beginning of creation, the 6-day account, then from Adam to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all the way to Jesus, how old were these people when they had their sons?
Clever. Devilishly clever.
It just so happens the Bible lists the age of every single one of them. So, all we have to do is add up the dates. From Adam till Jesus was about 4,000 years, and then from Jesus till today was about 2,000 years. So, if we add 4,000 plus 2,000, and we can kind of, skid over the 6 days, because, give or take 6 days is not going to make much of a difference. So, 4,000 years plus 2,000 years equals, I bet you can figure it out. Duh.
You may find yourself wondering, what science can we do to prove the Bible is correct and that the Earth is not 4.5 billion years old? It just so happens I know Kung Fu, and a little bit of science, too.
Before we get real deep into this, I just want to say that the credibility of the Bible hinges on the age of the Earth. If I can prove to you that the Earth is only around 6,000 years old, that means evolution cannot be true, which means God created us, and the implications of that are incredible. In the Bible, the book of Psalms, chapter 19 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God." What are the heavens? Well, there's 3 of them. There's the sky, which is right over there. I'm sure you've seen it before. There's the heavens above the sky, which is outer space, and then there's the 3rd heaven, which is where God is. So, we're going to look at the 2nd heaven and see if we can learn about God and His creation and how to prove the Earth and the universe is only around 6,000 years old. Okay, let's get right into this. The Sun uses 5 million tons of hydrogen every single second. So, there goes 5 million, there goes 5 million, there goes 5 million. It just keeps going. Okay, so, if the Sun has been consuming 5 million tons of hydrogen for the lifespan that the scientists claim the age of the Sun is, which is about 6 billion years according to them, then the Sun would have been large enough to swallow the Earth only a few million years ago if indeed it had that much hydrogen. Absolutely impossible for it to be billions of years old, and thus the Earth cannot be billions of years old. Okay, now we're going to talk about our lunar satellite, the Moon. Scientists, before we landed on the Moon, speculated that there was a severe amount of dust on the surface of the Moon because they thought the Moon was collecting dust for millions or billions of years. So they thought when they first were going to land on the Moon that the spacecraft would actually sink below the surface of the Moon into miles and miles worth of dust. So, when we first landed on the Moon, and if you actually watch the video of the first Moon landing, you'll see these enormous pads as like giant shoes at the bottom of the the landing module, and they thought that those would help them kind of land softly on the dust, but it turned out there wasn't much dust there at all. So, they planted down these plates, collection discs, to see if the Moon was actually collecting dust at all. It turns out it was. So, they took what was the rate of accumulated dust on the Moon, and they measured how deep the dust layer was on the Moon. And it turned out to be about 1/4 or 1/2 an inch. So not much, right? So they took the rate of dust consumption and looked at how much dust was on the Moon, and they said, it couldn't have been collecting dust for more than around 6,000 years. Now you might say, that doesn't prove that the Earth is 6,000 years old, that's just the Moon. Okay, well, watch this. If we just recently acquired the Moon, which some people theorize, that's impossible because watch this. Let's say you, the camera, are the Earth, and my hand's the Moon, okay? So the Moon's floating in space, and oh, there's the Earth, and it's caught in its gravitational field. So the moon's now moving towards the Earth, and it's caught in its gravity, and oh, you got a problem. And it just so happens that the moon is not moving towards the Earth, it's actually moving away from the Earth. Pretty cool, huh? What this means is the moon, now that it's traveling away from the Earth, used to be closer. I don't know if you've ever thrown a tennis ball in outer space. If you haven't, you gotta try it. I've actually never done it, but what I do know is space is a frictionless environment. So if you throw a tennis ball at, say, 30 miles an hour, it will continue at 30 miles an hour until it encounters resistance. So the moon, traveling in space, is moving away from the Earth without resistance, meaning it's been traveling away from the Earth at a consistent rate for a given amount of time. If we look at how far the moon is from us, and we look at how quickly it is moving away from us, we realize that it couldn't have been moving away from the Earth very long without catastrophic effects. If the moon was closer to the Earth, dramatically closer, say half the distance, you would quadruple the attraction, and since the moon controls the tides, the Earth would then flood like 4 times a day, and life never would have got started. So if you look at the moon's rate in which it's leaving, and you multiply it for, say, billions of years backwards, then we would all be dead. It's impossible. The moon couldn't have been moving away from the Earth for more than a few thousand years without catastrophic effects. Okay, let's talk about comets and meteors. As a comet travels through space, it has a tail behind it. A comet's made of rock and ice. That's it. And as it travels through space, it's actually losing its mass. That's the tail you see behind it. That is the rock and the ice just shooting off of the comet. And if something traveling through space is constantly losing its mass, that means eventually there'll be nothing left. It's like if you make a snowball and throw it through space and it's constantly losing snow, eventually there's just no more snowball. Even the largest comets known to man only have a lifespan of a few thousand years because they're constantly losing their mass. So, if the universe was billions of years old, why do we still have comets? It's impossible. Some people may say, well, maybe comets are being formed in outer space. Well, it's never been observed, first of all. And second, it's impossible to freeze water onto rock in outer space because there's no water in outer space. It's all frozen. So how do you mix rock and ice? You can't. There's no way to do it. So basically, it's a fingerprint of God. It's Him creating something that has no other explanation other than intelligent supernatural creation. You might protest by saying, how can starlight from stars being billions of light years away from Earth have light reaching Earth if they were only created about 6,000 years ago? Well, there's 2 completely plausible theories. The first of which being this. Harvard University students just stopped light. They literally stopped it in its tracks. So it's not unreasonable to assume light can be sped up as well. So, God, being the creator of everything, who can do anything He wants, can speed up light to reach the Earth. It says right in Genesis that He created the stars for lights in the heavens. It would be kind of useless for Him to create them if the light wasn't reaching Earth. Secondly, the theory of relativity and space-time is real interesting. What could very plausibly be happening is we are in the center of the universe. I mean, if there's an intelligent creator, then there's no reason why He wouldn't put His centerpiece of creation in the center of the universe, and we can talk about the redshift and how to prove that we are in fact in the center of the universe, but that's a whole other video. Basically, if we're in the center of the universe, and we've already proved science has proven that the universe is expanding, and there's even Bible verses that says God spreads out the heavens. Anyways, so we are in the center sitting comfortably, and the universe around us is spreading out. Okay, so it's completely plausible that the stars in outer space are being hurled through space-time at an incredibly rapid speed. So to us, who are sitting here, only 6,000 years has passed, but when we look up to the heavens, billions of years have passed. We're literally looking into the future. And that's why starlight is reaching us. Noah's Ark flood happened about 4,400 years ago, according to the Bible. So, we should be able to find things no older than 4,400 years old on this earth. The oldest tree in the earth is 4,400 years old. The oldest desert in this world is 4,400 years old. The oldest coral reef on this planet is 4,400 years old. Seas are getting saltier every year at a very consistent rate. If we take the rate in which they're getting saltier and go backwards, it turns out the seas would have been freshwater about 4,400 years ago. If you study waterfalls, you'll find that as water goes over the canyon, it eats away at the rock. at a very consistent rate. So Niagara Falls, if you measure the rate in which it is receding, has only been receding for 4,400 years according to the distance in which it has receded.